Hi everyone! Today we want to show you how easy it is to retrofit your machine with Peakboard Edge. How easy you can create a visualization out of this, you can see now. All you need for this is a light barrier with a relay output, a Peakboard Enterprise and a Peakboard Edge. So how you connect the light barrier to the Peakboard Edge I can show you now. For this we have a light barrier with a relay output with 5 different wires. 2 of them are used by the energy which are already plugged in. The other 3 are necessary to get the information from the sensor. For this we have this white and this black one which is giving a true or a false value if something is in front of the light barrier. So you can choose if the default is closed or the default is opened. The gray one is the counterpart for this, so you need this in any case. So for the Peakboard Edge we have 4 different input parts which you can see here. We have input 0, 1, 2 and 3. For this you can just take one of these 4, but it's important to plug in both wires on the same input value. So let's start with this and just start with the gray wire. It's not important on which place you connect the one and the other side. It's just important to take on both sides, for example, the input 1 or in this case input 0. So this thing is basically done. And the next step is just to place this sensor on the machine, which you can see here. For this we use a Velcro. Of course, in reality you would do this a little bit more stable with screws. So let's just place it here, and on the other side we need a reflector to make it possible to create a light between these both sides. So the next step is then you just need to plug in the energy cable for the sensor, which is here a regular 24-volt energy cable which you can find everywhere. So we can just place this here for the sensor, and the last step is do the same with the delivered energy cable for the Peakboard Edge box. So with this everything is done. You just have to connect the Peakboard Edge box to Ethernet by a regular Ethernet cable to get the data out of the Edge box. And how you get a visualization for this you see now.
Let's start with the design for our visualization. First, we'll set a background color for our screen, and then we'll create a header with the name of our punch press. In the footer of the screen, we want to add information about the current work order at this punch press. To do this, we first create the respective fields. Next, we add our information regarding the current work order. In this video, of course, we're just using demo data. Normally, the data that you'll use would be sourced from the ERP system or a data bank set up for that purpose. If you'd like to learn how to connect these kinds of data sources, you can find links to the relevant videos below in the description. We then add the data to our visualization, at which point we'll also create a time data source that we'll use to show the time of day. In order to make sure that this is displayed correctly, we'll need to set the right format for the automatically created text box here. In the next step, we'll deal with connecting the Peakboard Edge box. We can start off by adding one through the Peakboard Edge box's dialog. Alternatively, if we've already added a box, we can of course just use that directly. This dialog is also used to administrate the Edge box, for example, to rename or to update the Edge box. In order to read out the Peakboard Edge box's data, or more specifically, to check the condition of or to set the outputs, we'll first need to set these up as data sources. To do that, we go under Data, Add Data, and then select the Edge data source. Here, we can start off by naming the Edge box that we're going to add, and then go ahead and select the first Peakboard Edge box. Once we've selected our Peakboard Edge box, it'll automatically be added onto our Edge data source. Now, I'm going to use drag and drop to position the Peakboard Edge data source on the screen so I can show you how it works. You can see that a table is generated that displays the name of the Edge box, as well as the status of all of the in and outputs as a Boolean. Later, we'll be able to query these, and for the outputs, we'll even be able to define a status ourselves. If we were going to add a second Peakboard Edge box after this one, it would be displayed for us in the second row of the table. This way, we always have a nice overview of all of our connected edge boxes. However, since we only want to read out the value of the light barrier for this example, which is on the in0 input, we can delete this table and focus on the refresh script for the Edge data source. Before that though, we're going to set up a few variables that we want to use in the script using the Boolean running. We want to indicate whether the punch press is currently running or not. In order to check this, we need the string variable last connected, which will be used to record the time at which the light barrier was last tripped. To record the number of already processed parts, we'll also set up the number variable, which we'll call counter, and into which we'll enter the value 200 for the purpose of this demonstration. Now let's talk about the actual script. Here, we'll use in0 to check the last value from the input in0. If this value is true and the current value at the input is false, we can infer that an object is in front of the light barrier at that moment and that it has only just arrived there. Otherwise, the last value wouldn't be true. If that is the case, our counter will count up by 1 and record the time at which the light barrier was last tripped into the last connected variable. With that, we've finished our script for the Edge data source. If no parts pass the light barrier for a set amount of time, meaning that the machine seems to no longer be active, we will need to trigger an alarm. To do this, we'll create a timer script that will be executed every second. This script will allow us to calculate the difference between the current time and the time at which the light barrier was last tripped. For this example, we'll indicate that an alarm should be sounded after 10 seconds. So, when the difference between the times is greater than 10, the Boolean running will be set to false. To set the Boolean to true again, once the punch press is running again, we'll also indicate that it should be set to true when the condition is not met. So, when the last contact occurred less than 10 seconds before. With that, we've finished with our scripts. Now we're going to create a progress bar to show our current and target values, and to visually display our current progress. Besides that, we'll also create a text box that will provide us with the current status of the punch press. Now we will use conditional formatting to draw even more attention to the alarm, indicating that the punch press is at a standstill. Here, we'll first define that the background of the header should be red whenever the running Boolean's value is false. Next, we'll indicate that when this condition is met, the text box running should be changed to not running. Additionally, the text that indicates the current value should also be colored red. For that, we'll create a new font that we'll call Extra Large Not Running. The progress bar that displays our current progress should also be colored in red when the alarm is on. Once we're done setting this up, we're finished with our visualization. Using Preview, we can now start the visualization. Here we can see that by using a punch press retrofitted with Peakboard Edge with relatively little effort, we can display live data in a visualization that responds to changes in status. You can find this and many other visualizations on our Templates portal, from which you can conveniently download them for your use. Thanks very much for watching. If we've managed to pique your interest in Peakboard Edge with this video, you can contact us using the contact information in the description. In case you have any questions regarding the video or Peakboard Edge, please leave us a comment below. Lastly, to make sure that you don't miss any further Peakboard videos, we also want to encourage you to subscribe to our channel.